Remain in me. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then came the animals and man. However, after that came sin, and the Lord God banished him from the Garden of Eden.
Ich bin der rechte Weinstock und mein Vater der Weingärtner. Eine jegliche Rebe an mir, die nicht Frucht bringt, wird er wegnehmen. Und eine jegliche, die da Frucht bringt, wird er reinigen, dass sie mehr Frucht bringe.
Das ist nochmal ein Teil?
Nee, danke, mir redet. Ihr seid schon rein um des Wortes willen, das ich zu euch geredet habe. Bleibet in mir und ich in euch. Gleich wie die Rebe kann keine Frucht bringen von ihr selber, sie bleibe denn am Weinstock, also auch ihr nicht, ihr bleibet denn in mir. Ich bin der Weinstock, ihr seid die Reben. Wer in mir bleibt und ich in ihm, der bringt viele Frucht, denn ohne mich könnt ihr nichts tun. Wer nicht in mir bleibt, der wird weggeworfen wie eine Rebe und verdorrt, und man sammelt sie und wirft sie ans Feuer und müssen brennen. So ihr in mir bleibet und meine Worte in euch bleiben, werdet ihr bitten, was ihr wollt, und es wird euch widerfahren. Kijk maar zo maat je aan Jezus blijven, omdat we vrucht brengen.
Hey, dat je het.
Na joh, wat wil dat?
Откройте mir! Откройте mir!
Dan die zijn geen schemadonen, maar schwin.
Откройте mir!
Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. You will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy.
Min onkel Tjerne, det kom van der Mach nach. Mijn onkel had 9 wonden am Tarpe. Der had hier over dem Kopf, ook hier een slag, van de bandiet op een piet zat, aan de afhaken deed. Had hier een slag, ook hier een slag. Ook hier de oude soldatenrok, die had een steven rok gekregen. Die sloeg hem wond, dat het bladen deed, maar die kwam niet zo wie tot hem de kop afhaken. Die wilde hem de kop afhaken. Bij hem stonden. En dan val hij door. Dat vertelde aan de toont. Maar die wonden heb ik gezien. En op mijn ridje had hij nog een paar wonden. Die had hem verhakt van Piet. Die bandiet die had het gezegd, hij is niet met tint. Dat is een bekende reden. En zodat die meende die weer dood van die magnaaien. Maar die man die leeft, die is in Canada gestorven. Die starf van dem verhaken niet. Ik had hem ook gezien dat wordt verhakt werden. Die had toont hem te herinnering.
In the 4th century, persecution of Christians was rare. The politicians of that time sympathized with the Christians' collaborative attitude. Some laws were even favorable to the church. Those laws, however, marked the beginning of a state church. And for over 1,000 years, church and state walked hand in hand, generating fake teachings and imposing a new religion which, instead of a personal choice, became the only way of survival for an increasingly oppressed population. Government and church were selling forgiveness, thus marketing faith, and conquering an always increasing power as opposing voices were beginning to emerge. It was only in the 16th century, the century of the humanists, the Renaissance, and the great discoveries, that Europe started a new political and social age. Johannes Gutenberg invented the press, which permitted the diffusion of books and knowledge. Scholars and priests could now study the Bible in the original languages, thus questioning some teachings that had been preached until then. It did not take long for reformist leaders to appear: Martin Luther, John Calvin, Ulrich Zwingli. However, 2 leaders were radical: Conrad Grebel and Menno Simons. They wanted the total separation between church and state. They were considered rebellious and dangerous, and the Reformed Church banished them. Their followers were attacked and persecuted, whipped, drowned, beheaded, burned alive. Because they baptized adults, they were called Anabaptists, and their persistence in their ideals made them grow as a group and spread over Switzerland, Germany, and the Netherlands. They would rather die than deny their faith. Michael Sattler, an Anabaptist, as he was burned alive, raised his fingers in an agreed sign that meant that he still believed in Jesus Christ. Menno Simons was born in 1496 in Witmarsum, a small village in the province of Friesland in the north of the Netherlands, and his name originated the name Mennonites. He was ordained a Catholic priest in 1524, and his religious opinions, which diverged from the state church's doctrine, led him to carefully study the New Testament and Luther's writings. In 1537, he became an Anabaptist preacher and revealed himself an untiring missionary, transmitting the new faith across the regions of Frisia, southern Netherlands, and Germany. Menno was the most important Anabaptist leader and preached about a free and pacifist church, untied from governments. Menno Simons died on January 31st, 1561. He believed in Christ's divinity and in believers' baptism, which meant that only those who professed their faith in Jesus Christ could be baptized. The Bible was the authority of his doctrine. Persecuted and condemned to death because of their principles, Still in the 16th century, the Mennonites escaped from the Netherlands and took refuge in Danzig, today Gdańsk, in Poland, which belonged to Prussia, a German province. In the 200 years spent there, they incorporated many elements of the German culture. However, the end of the 18th century would bring them new suffering. Danzig was living under the pressure of preparation for war in an unstable Europe, with the political turmoil in France just before the French Revolution of 1789. Governmental control of Prussia, which included Germany, prevented the Mennonite settlers from acquiring new areas, and their descendants did not have any more plowable land. In 1786, Catherine the Great, the Russian Tsarina, invited the Mennonites of Germany, known for their work potential, to move into southern Russia and colonize the steppes of the Volga, large areas in the north of the Dead Sea, conquered in wars against the Turks. In exchange, she offered land, governmental assistance, the right to administrate their own goods, exemption from military service, and religious freedom. In 1788, the first Mennonites arrived in Russia. Decades of difficulties were still ahead. And afterwards, progress and prosperity, which reached its peak between 1890 and 1914, when the Mennonites were a population of approximately 120,000 people, many of them owners of windmills, industries, and farms, which were considered the best of the world at that time. They achieved an envious standard of living. They created schools and colleges and a unique educational system. They built orphanages, homes for the elderly, and hospitals. However, after 1874, the privileges were being taken away. Young men were called for military service, a decision that made thousands of Mennonites leave Russia for North America. In 1914, World War I breaks out. Russia fights Germany. Tsar Nicholas II orders the confiscation of Mennonite lands, for the Mennonites were considered German spies. In 1917, the Russian Revolution begins. In internal fights, the Revolutionary Red Army fights the Whites, the Tsar's loyal army. The Tsar is dethroned. Mennonites are considered enemies of the revolution. Many suffer brutal death. 1920. The Reds defeat the Whites. Russia is now under Lenin's command. Every property is nationalized and collective farms are formed. The more prosperous Mennonites lose their lands. Those who remain pay high taxes. Sometimes a whole harvest was not enough to pay them off. And Christian education is prohibited. Many teachers are sent to Siberia. The only choice left is to escape. What is time passing by, beating in my chest, waiting for the last chance to escape? We thought that our homes in Russia were forever, from generation to generation, but life is like a shadow that passes away, as it says in the book of Psalms. But another psalm comforts me and encourages me. But I am like an olive tree flourishing in the house of God. I trust in God's unfailing love forever and ever.
Come твоя мама.
Чи не дотроши задути землю?
buiten, dat stiet. De documenten zijn fertig.
We moeten fora.
Kom, waar vagona?
Para mim foi muito difícil conhecer o que meu pai fazia, porque ele era procurado pela polícia, né? Porque ele não podia aguentar mais, né? Então ele queria sair e ele não tinha licença de sair de lá. Deixou toda a terra, toda a casa boa que nós tinha, a estrebaria de todos os cavalos, deixou tudo pronto. Eu sei que uma empregada nossa ficou na rua, na porta chorando. A Maria ficou lá chorando.
Bom, eu me lembro quando saímos, era dia 25, nós já empacotamos o que queríamos levar, era pouca coisa, e às 2 horas de madrugada, o dia, bateu alguém à porta. A família Martin Gier foi assassinado esta noite.
Gott sei Dank, die Zeit macht Deutschland eine ganze Weltpropaganda. Millionen Menschen sterben in Russland. Alle Christen, wer lebt an Gott, wat er progaus zu tun, recht keine Arbeit. Da weet je man.
Between 1923 and 1926, close to 20,000 Mennonites immigrated to Canada. This encouraged hundreds of families to go to Moscow to try to obtain their visa. But Russia closed its gates. By the end of 1929, more than 13,000 Mennonites were crowding Russia, under sorrow and the pain of leaving behind the achievements of generations. It was necessary to cross the Red Gate, arrive in Germany, and immigrate to America. Now, it was freedom or death. The train tried to stop, shaking violently and making loud grinding noises mingled with screaming and whining. Frightened as hidden fugitives in that wagon crammed with boxes, people, and fear, we were fearfully waiting for the moment the wooden door would suddenly be opened. Suddenly and violently, the white light of the freezing morning invaded our shelter of desperation. The next second, the muddy boots of the Russian soldiers were mercilessly stepping on everything that was in their way. And we were in their way. The immense shadow of the man in the black cape stopped less than one step from me, blurring my eyes that were searching for one sign of hope. The soldier bowed, with curious eyes, investigating, his hands moving forwards, his breathing interrupted. With an unexpected pull, he took my necklace, and with it went the only memento of my mother, a wedding ring she had given me the moment we departed and separated forever. The convulsion of the hardly contained cry, the grip of someone tightly holding my arm, and, the next second, the immense door closing behind the soldiers.
Das war dann schon alles so spannend, wir wollten ja alle raus. Und die ließen nicht und ließen nicht. Und dann haben sie immer schon zurückgeschickt, welche, ja, und die Verbannung, wir wussten ja nicht, wo sie die hinschickten. Kamen nachts gewöhnlich, morgens, wenn wir aufstanden, war die Familie nicht mehr da, ja. Und dann mit einmal kam ein Soldat und brachte uns die Nachricht, wir könnten uns fertig machen, wir können raus. Aus Russland raus, ja. Aber es musste sehr schnell gehen. Und dann wurden wir dann im Zug eingeladen. Es dauerte ja eine Weile, wir mussten da warten. Aber alle ganz, ganz aufgeregt. War nicht ein Spaziergang. Und dann fuhren wir dann zur Grenze. Das Rote Tor heißt dann die Grenze. Was man aus Russland, durch das Rote Tor mussten wir mit dem Zug. Und bevor wir durch das Rote Tor fuhren, kamen Soldaten rein, auch Frauen, was das noch wohl auch Angestellte der Regierung oder was. Die haben dann die ganzen Menschen, den ganzen Zug durchsucht. Nach Schmucksachen und Geld, ja, nach Wertsachen. Die haben Brot aufgebrochen und alles, aber die Menschen alle so befasst und untersucht. Und dann hatte ich eine solche Kette mit diesem Ring. Dieser Ring ist von meiner Mutter. Den hatte ich den haben sie mir auch weggenommen. Und dann habe ich geweint. Ich sage, dies eine habe ich zum Andenken an meine Mutter. Ich war eine runde Waise. Und jetzt nehmen sie mir das weg. Und was ihnen das hilft. Naja, aber er hat es mir weggenommen, ja.
The train shook for another whole day of travel, and whistles sounded at stations in places we did not even know existed. We were awaiting the red gate of freedom and the end of the journey at a place that never came. We were silently suffering and constantly moving further away from everything we owned, to enter a doubtful future, which made us all grow older, more used to suffering. And at the end of the journey, there was the soldier in his black cape again. He looked at my hands, which I instinctively stretched out to him in a sudden automatic move. He moved his hands inside his black cape's pocket and seemed to search for something among some objects. Drops of melted snow fell in my small white hand, and with them the wedding ring, hanging from the golden chain, landed in my hand. My heart was frightened. No other gesture, not even a shadow of compassion. The soldier was back again to his duty in that train of homeless people, moving to an unknown destination. It took seconds to get back to reality, but then I had already left a great part of my childhood behind, even if a little sign of hope remained in the gesture of the Russian soldier who accompanied the beginning of our exodus to a land none of us knew.
Dann kam der eine Soldat dann ganz nah an mich heran und gab mir den Ring und die Kette, schaute mich nur an und sagte kein Wort und ich auch nicht. Ich war ganz erschrocken, ja. Naja, und dann gingen sie ab. Ich habe dann meins erhalten, die anderen, es ging alles mit. Und so war es dann. Ich habe mich damals sehr gefreut, dass ich ihn zurückbekam. Hatte der junge Mann, der junge Soldat, doch noch ein Gefühl, ja? Ein Mitgefühl. Hatte mit mir mitgefühlt. Ich weiß ja nicht, was er erfahren hat. Aber die mussten das tun, ja.
During the trip out of the Volga, the lives of thousands of Mennonites were being modified. Stories of sacrifice, hope, and faith.
Eu me lembro pouca coisa, me lembro que eu tive aniversário lá, aquele dia 25 lá no trem. Eu sei que grupos fizeram música e também sei que roubaram de nós naquele trem o violão que meu pai e minha mãe tocaram. O chefe do trem avisou, cuide com ladrões no trem. E ele mesmo roubou, pois no dia seguinte o meu pai viu no escritório dele o violão que estava num canto do quarto dele.
Nasza mać Rosja, nasz ojciec szeroki jest, tra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra. Я люблю раздою скипиляса, а чудно са. Я люблю раздою скипиляса.
Und einer Übersetzung nach Deutschland kam, wird einem alles weggenommen. Er wie dann ein Kind von 12 Jahren. Dann sah ich vor da, und das Jahr wie nach 5 Jahren jünger, mein Bruder war Tanztor, ja. Et schwinde Schalade ab, sonst nehmen die Russen das weg. Das satte geblieben.
Porque eu me lembro muito bem, meu pai ainda tinha muito dinheiro. Porque ele ajuntou o resto para sair de lá, porque sem sair de dinheiro, então ele não gostava. Então era na divisa da Rússia e da Alemanha. Então meu pai notou que a GPU entrou no vagão dizendo o seguinte: aonde nós achamos um rubel, um dinheiro qualquer, essa pessoa vai ser mandada de volta. Aí meu pai estava sentado, eu tinha pena, ele levantou um pouquinho a janela do trem e deixou cair o resto de tudo. Então nós não tínhamos mais nem o dinheirinho, nada. Eu vi isso, eu não podia saber como é que o meu pai escolhia isso. Lá ele deixou os 2 cavalos bonitos, entrou e veio até aqui. Aqui ele joga o resto do dinheiro e assim nós chegamos lá.
In a petition to the government, hundreds of families threatened to go to the Kremlin in case they did not receive their visa to leave Russia. Benjamin Unruh, a Mennonite who lived in Germany at that time, had been sent to America to search for new immigration areas. He learned about the situation his people were facing in Russia and spread this news around the world. More than 7,000 settlers who had not managed to cross the Red Gate ended up being condemned to the frozen forests of Siberia, imprisoned and subdued to hard forced labor. Others escaped walking over frozen rivers, across Mongolia, through China, through Japan and France. To avoid being exposed to international critics, Russia gave in and allowed the departure of 5,671 people, among them 3,885 Mennonites, on their way to a Germany that was living the consequences of the First World War. Some months later, the only remaining possibility of immigration would be to the Americas. An uncertain direction, that was on the other side of the world, but on the way of faith and on the way to freedom. On January 16, 1930, the ship Monte Olivia departed from the port of Hamburg in Germany, taking the first Mennonite immigrants to Brazil. Before starting the voyage, Benjamin Unruh spoke in the name of the international organizations that were promoting this immigration and asked the community to accept Heinrich Martens, a reliable man, as their leader and guide to the new land.
Ihr habt in den letzten Jahren die Wirklichkeit des Lebens kennengelernt, eine nackte und traurige Wirklichkeit. Ihr habt auf dem Boden dieser Wirklichkeit aber auch eine andere Wirklichkeit erlebt, Gott. Setzt im Vertrauen auf Gott und begleitet von unseren und eines ganzen Volkes Segenswünschen euren Wanderstab weiter und bewährt euch als fleißige Farmer, gute Bürger und wahre Bekenner unseres Herrn Jesus Christus, von dem ihr nicht lassen wolltet und der euch nicht lassen wird. Herr Martens hatte mit seiner Familie die Möglichkeit, nach Kanada zu gehen. Er entschloss sich aber, als Führer nach Brasilien auszuwandern, damit die ganze Ansiedlung dort unseren internationalen Organisationen ordnungsgemäß eingegliedert werde und bleibe. Heinrich Martens ist Predigtamtskandidat und war längere Zeit Vorsitzender des Krimmer Mennonitischen Landwirtschaftlichen Vereins. Es bestände vielleicht die Möglichkeit, diesen lieben Bruder zu ordinieren, wobei es für mich eine große Freude wäre, wenn in diesem Falle verschiedene Älteste unserer verschiedenen Gemeindegruppen die Ordination vollziehen wollten, als Symbol unserer letzten Verbundenheit im Glauben und in der Liebe.
Martens could have chosen Canada, but instead, he decided to lead his people to Brazil. They knew nothing about the country and the region that awaited them except for what they had heard in Germany, a subtropical paradise where everyone could be a landowner. Out at sea, the ship was a refuge for the children's games with the gifts received from the captain. Boys and girls had fun in the pool. Whole families had to accommodate in little cabins. The sum of what they managed to save from what had been their lives, and the hope of building a new life. Memories of the two girls born on board the ship Monte Olivia, Anna and Olivia. But there was also the pain of a boy's death, his grave, the sea. They had plenty of time, so some played cards with the restaurant's clerks. The food was good. However, some could not stand the seasickness, for the ship seemed to shake constantly. Rich or poor, what they had been did not matter anymore, and they lived together as equals. They sang and played their instruments. They were trying to understand the time zones, trying to give their lives a direction. At the end of the trip, Heinrich Martens thanked Captain Milsterman. Those had been days of peace for them after years of suffering. With the help of God, they would build a new homeland. The Monte Olivia arrived at Ilha das Flores in Rio de Janeiro on February 3, 1930, after a 19-day trip, bringing the first 30 Mennonite families, 179 people. Two other ships, Baden-Baden and Madrid-Bremen, brought more settlers, refugees from the Volga region. Until 1932, 1,245 Mennonite immigrants would come, with the help of the German government, the German Red Cross, and Dutch Mennonites.
Nou, een schepper, dat we een dichtje schep, daar hebben we genoeg te eten en alles. Maar het middel meer, maar dan weer het meest ongewonen. Gott sei Dank, de Herr had bewoord en had ze dat had 4 ongevoed.
Porque o navio era um navio de carga. Então, quer dizer, no porão, eles fizeram umas estaleiras de madeira e lá o povo teve que dormir e passar todo aquele tempo, 3 semanas ali, né? E muita gente não estava acostumada a andar no rio, né? No navio, viu? Ficaram aquele, sei lá, wie sagt man das? Enjoo. Quem entrava naquele porão ali, começava quase a vomitar também. Ali nasceu meu irmão Jacó. Jacó Daniel. O médico era um judeu, então o nome dele era Daniel. Então eles deram o nome dele Jacó Daniel. Tá? Primeiro nós chegamos ali na ilha, em Rio de Janeiro, Ilha das Flores, para climatizar pouco o povo, né? Ali a comida era feijão, arroz e pão. Às vezes o feijão e arroz não era das primeiras. E as gurizadas aproveitaram o mar, né? Era o mar perto, né? O dia inteiro no mar. Isso me lembra ainda.
Zur Ehre Gottes bin ich dankbar, dass ich in Brasilien bin. Und jetzt kommt das Lied, das erste Lied, ein lustiges, wo die Russen immer singen, wenn sie zusammen sind, immer Frauen. Chega varias stoja mon magista chega varias stoja zimagu Desi paljubila девять позабила одного порабить не могу 10 полюбила, 9 позабила, одного позабить не могу. Тра-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла. Ach, die Doli, mai Doli, do Brasili, do Vila. Ach, die Doli, mai Doli, do Brasili, do Vila. Dat we in Brazilië zijn. Nu daar zijn het Brazilië.
In Rio de Janeiro, they waited for another departure. They went through medical examinations and began the difficult adaptation to the warm climate of Brazil and to living together with people of a totally different culture and to a very simple meal which consisted of black beans, dried meat, and bread. From Rio de Janeiro to the port of São Francisco do Sul in the state of Santa Catarina, where they arrived on February 5th. From there to Itajaí, a 9-hour trip on board another vessel called Max. And from Itajaí to Blumenau, another 8-hour trip in a small riverboat. From Blumenau, 3 hours by train to the Hansa station in Iberama, at that time called Hamônia. And from there, 40 miles by foot, on horseback or carts, through mountains, to the area that belonged to the Hanseatic Company of Hamburg, west of Iberama, the Crowell River Valley. On February 13, 1930, the first Mennonites arrived at the Crowell. The Crowell is a tributary of the Hercílio River, which is an arm of the Itajaí River. It was named by the land measurers of the Hanseatic Company at the time of the first immigrations, possibly after the German ambassador in Brazil.
A primeira coisa foi que nós agora estávamos num país subtropical, né? Tropical. Da Sibéria, frio, aqui era calor. Lá era plano e aqui era só montes e vales. E só matos. Pensamos, como é que nós vamos plantar e cultivar esta terra? Isso era a maior pergunta. E como sobreviver neste mato?
We opened the way through the virgin forest using sickles and axes, fearing to come across Indians. They had fought Italian and German immigrants in that region. We founded the Crowell Colony in the Crowell River Valley with the local centers of Waldheim, Nadental, and Wittmarsum, which was the center of the whole colony. Afterwards, as more Mennonites arrived, we founded Auhagen in Stolz Plateau. Everything had to be done. Houses made of wood cut by axe. The plantations. Make the corn grow in order to make bread. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. Who is it that overcomes the world? Only he who believes that Jesus is the Son of God.
Nós ali morávamos em barracas que foram construídas e foi dividido, tinha que ir até o nosso lugar, que era 6 quilômetros, nossa colônia. O que comemos? Quem forneceu a comida para nós foi a Holanda, que nos sustentou um ano ali em Santa Catarina. Cada família recebeu um pouco de farinha, de fubá, um pouco de banha, pouco de açúcar, um pouco de petróleo para nossas lâmpadas. E a comida foi meio fraca, sabe? Mas depois também, logo, cada família recebeu uma vaca, também dinheiro da Holanda. E nós começamos a plantar. Então tinha o que cresce muito rápido é abóbora. E nós então tínhamos leite e abóbora, um pouco de mandioca. Assim nós vivemos. Não tinha churrasco, alguma coisa, e não tinha nem um pouco de farinha de trigo. Só fubá. Se acostumar da farinha branca de trigo da Rússia para fubá também foi uma mudança muito difícil de aceitar.
Bom, o primeiro ano, MCC, ela fornecia comida para toda aquela turma. Então, esse primeiro ano, a gente teve que plantar, derrubar mato, queimar e plantar milho, mandioca, para ter alguma coisa de comer. Eles forneceram essa ajuda só para um ano. Tá? E depois, para algumas deu certo, né? Eles escolheram milho e mandioca. Mas era mais uma coisa. No meio onde fizemos as casas, o chão era fraco. O milho não crescia, né? Daí teve que descobrir que mais perto das serras, ali o chão era mais forte para plantar milho. Ou plantar aqui, mas aqui como esterco, só como adubo, né? Mas quem não tinha adubo, não tinha vaca, não tinha nada, né? Então, aí onde nós moramos, só crescia aipim. Daí, mas sempre deu um pouquinho, né? Para nós fazer uma farinha, fazer pão, mas aquele pão era quase duro, que a gente não podia comer, mas não tinha outra coisa, tinha mandioca e pão, de farinha de milho.
Eu me lembro, uma vez nós fomos para a escola, e quando chegamos perto da ponte que nós ia passar, lá estava uma anta. E então, mas não tinha pistola, não tinha nada. Aí fomos chamar algumas pessoas e eles vieram com enxada, com machado e decidiram matar aquele bicho, e daí então cada um recebia um pedaço de carne, né?
The former German settlers called the colony center New Africa because many had fought in that continent before coming to Brazil. With the arrival of the Mennonites and a request of Heinrich Martens, the name of the center was changed to Witmarsum, the name of Menno Simon's hometown. In the new homeland, Washington Luiz, the last president of the old Brazilian Republic, went into exile in Europe. Revolts developed in the states of Rio Grande do Sul, Minas Gerais, and in the Northeast, and in October 1930, Getúlio Vargas would come to power over the country. In Santa Catarina, Fulvio Aducci, elected governor, had been prevented from governing less than 1 month after being elected, and was substituted by the commander of Getúlio's army, which invaded the state. Most of the Mennonites in the Kral Valley were farmers, but there were also woodworkers, carpenters, tailors, shoemakers, nurses, and teachers. In this first year of immigration, the support and survival of the families regarding agricultural matters was assured by the help of the German Red Cross. And from the Netherlands, through the Hollandisch Dorpsgezind Bureau, help came to build schools, sawmills, and the cooperative. In the building donated by the Netherlands, where the City Hall of Witmarsum is located today, a hospital served people from 1936 to 1952.
E depois o problema era o bicho de pé, que nós não sabíamos o que era. Às vezes tinha E aquilo era horrível, sabe? E depois esses bichos hibernos, não sei como é que se chama, na cabeça, tinha um rapaz lá, tinha 10 desses na cabeça, quase ficou louco, até que descobrimos o que era.
Life began to take on new shape, with hope and serious work, inseparable marks of the Mennonite history. The organization of the cooperative in the center of Wittmarsum shortened the long distances between the production areas and the consumers. There, settlers used to sell their products and buy the goods they needed. As soon as the milk production became part of the settlement's activities, the community installed, on the same plot as the cooperative, machinery to separate milk from cream. And a store, the old big house that still stands there, witnessed the arrival of 2 carts pulled by horses on May 4th, 1932, to carry for the first time the milk produced by the cooperative farmers, 208 liters. In 1 month, the production already increased to 343 liters daily. Later, it was already possible to build sawmills, both private ones and for the cooperative. Initially, they were driven by hydraulic energy, by damming the river. Where there was no river, the machines were steam-driven. My house is my shelter. A home of hopes revealing in its architecture the signs of my time in a distant birthplace, as the features that define in my face the marks that were also my parents' and that my children will inherit. My house is like time that passes by, blowing stories from other times. Doors and windows, hands folded in eternal prayer, for the sun to come in and for air to fill the house. My house is like life that ends and begins again here or at another place. The children's education in the beginning was provided in the houses of members of the community, as well as the worship services and the choir rehearsals, until April 26, 1931, when the first school of Wittmarsum was inaugurated along the Kambara stream, where on Sundays the services were held. The first church was built in Waldheim in 1932. On April 1, 1935, junior high school classes began at the central school. The old big house, which at some point was a grocery store as well, keeps the memory of the first stories of the Mennonite education in Brazil.
Nós tinha sempre hino muito conhecido, que era da igreja mesmo. Nós começava com um hino e o professor fazia uma oração. Assim começava a aula. Depois, no terminar, a mesma coisa. Es lebe Gott allein in mir, in Zeit und Ewigkeit. Mein Heiland, das gebühret dir, bis jetzt in alle Zeit. Ich kann auch nicht mehr alles. Ja. Das falsche Leben, das ich merk, gar nicht in mir gehört.
In 1937, the nationalist campaign, after the coup d'etat that would lead Brazil to the new state dictatorship of Getúlio Vargas, would severely hit the Mennonite community. Schools and churches were closed and the German language prohibited. The community spoke very little Portuguese and could hardly understand the language. They had almost no contact with Brazilians. Only at the end of 1939 would they get permission to hold the worship services during 2 years in their mother tongue, the Plattdeutsch dialect. As Brazil entered World War II in 1942, new restrictions to education and worship services in the German language would follow. Freedom in school and in church would only be restored in the early 1950s.
quando foram fechadas as escolas, depois quando o Brasil entrou na guerra contra a Alemanha, né? Isso acho que foi em 42, mas quando veio a mudança, o Estado Novo, vocês sabem que em 38, quando isso foi do Getúlio Vargas, quando ele se tornou ditador, aí fechou todas as escolas estrangeiras. E os professores tinham que ser brasileiros. E nós éramos todos estrangeiros, e quer dizer que ninguém estava qualificado de lecionar. Finalmente, então, eles começaram a fazer uma exceção. Os nossos professores tinham que passar um teste de português. Bom, aquele teste...
Weiter. Rechts. Hin. Es geht so. Willi, ein bisschen nennen. Schönes Foto so.
Peter, Hans, Willi, Gerhard, German names that would soon be well adjusted to the Brazilians' favorite sport. This was a soccer team of the first Mennonite immigrants. In Brazil, life gained new colors and different habits than those of the Volga times.
Já tinha um campo de futebol, já na hora quando fizemos a escola, já fizeram do lado um campo de futebol.
Tinha uma bola de futebol para todo o colégio e para os jovens, fim da semana, uma bola. Então, quando a gente podia dar um chute na bola, era o grande herói.
O time aqui do Santa Catarina, do Alto Rio Kroll, ganhava contra qualquer time lá daqueles alemães antigos.
But survival in Brazil was possible at the cost of struggles and sorrows. Diseases, difficulties during labor, but also with deaths. Pankratz, a recently married man, jumped into the Kraal waters to save his friend from drowning, but he himself did not have the same luck.
Psalm 90, Vers 12. Lehre uns bedenken, dass wir sterben müssen, auf dass wir klug werden.
Suffering, the forest, the hot climate, discontentment. Already in 1939, the majority of the Alhagens immigrants and many from the other communities set out for Curitiba in the state of Paraná in search of new lands. The open fields of Curitiba allowed the use of the plow and raising cattle. Initially established in small properties in the districts of Pilarzinho, Bacaxiri, and Vila Guaira, with the money earned from their own lands, they acquired an area of approximately 60 acres in the region of the districts of Xaxim and Boqueirão, forming a nucleus of small farms. Curitiba, in those times, saw industries, business offices, and farms developing where nowadays the center of the city is located. Paraná was governed by an inspector, Manuel Ribas. The dairy activity of this Mennonite nucleus would soon supply more than half of the milk consumed by the population of Paraná's capital. A little more than 93,000 inhabitants in the early 1930s, and later commercialized by the Cooperative of Boqueirão, founded in 1945, which, among so many difficulties, would shorten the distance between the district and the other city regions. Once again, religion, work, and education fostered progress in the community, even if they had to start all over time after time. Today, the Mennonite community of Curitiba maintains institutions of great importance to the city. The Menno Simons Therapeutical Center attends approximately 1,200 people every month. The Casa de José Center attends an average of 10 needy adolescents each day and shelters boys in a home at Fazenda Rio Grande in the neighborhood of Paraná's capital. At AMAS, the Mennonite Social Assistance Association, 680 children of poor families stay during the day so that their parents can work. The rest home Lar Bethesda provides residential medical assistance to 80 elderly people. The Mennonite Brethren Bible Institute and Seminary, ISBEAM, offers courses in theology and Christian education, besides languages, and a school for 180 children up to grade 8. The Mennonite community also maintains a camp called Bethel, a place for retreats with over 20 acres. The Olympic Sports Club, provided with excellent facilities, and the Danubio Park, with areas equipped for sports and leisure. The Erasto Gertner School in the Boqueirão district reflects the enterprising spirit of the Mennonites, a school that started with 18 students right after the establishment of the families coming from the Kraal, is nowadays a respected institution in Curitiba, a reference in education. Close to 1,000 students study in this school, which occupies over 5 acres and has an excellent infrastructure. Around the late 40s and early 50s, informed about the advances achieved in the wheat plantation in the very south of the country, around 86 families sold their land in Santa Catarina and set out for the Aceguá district in Bagé, 240 miles from Porto Alegre, the capital of the state of Rio Grande do Sul. There they began a new colonization experience with their own resources and the help of North American Mennonite organizations. Kamau, the cooperative of Asegua, founded by the colonists, is currently responsible for a great part of the county's production and commercialization of milk and dairy products and grains. Today, the colony, called Colonia Nova, in its area of 15,500 acres, has close to 900 Mennonite inhabitants and has become the most prosperous district of Bagé. In 1951, other Mennonite families from the Crau Valley also left Santa Catarina. With the help of Mennonite institutions in the United States, they acquired the Cancela Farm, 7,800 hectares, in the county of Palmeira, in Campos Gerais do Paraná, 40 miles from Curitiba, to form the Nova Vitmarsum colony, where they installed the farming cooperative of Vitmarsum, producing the Cancela dairy products. Besides milk and dairy products, the colony also develops an important activity in the production of grains and raising chicken. Today, the community owns a hospital, an ambulatory, a museum, and the Fritz Cleaver School, serving 500 students. This is the biggest Mennonite colony in Brazil today. 342 families live there. Although there are two churches for theological reasons and because of social and economic influences, the Mennonite Brethren and the Evangelical Mennonite, the Mennonites remain united in their faith, their work, and social cohesion. There are around 1 million Mennonites in the world, more than 7,000 of them in Brazil. I wish time would stop for a while so that I could calmly tell all the stories from the Netherlands, from Germany, from Russia, from Brazil. But we cannot stop time. In our churches, in our people's songs, we keep plowing the ground where every day we sow faith and reap more strength to start again and carry on. At the Crau Valley rest our ancestors. At the memorial in tribute to the 70th anniversary of the Mennonite immigration in Vitmarsum at the Crau, almost in the 21st century, we meet to revive, commemorate, and to strengthen each other in the land that welcomed us, Brazil, the land where old and new roots live together, Mennonite families. On other fields, we continue to plant, to plow, and to reap. At the Crau flourished the faith that has spread throughout the country. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. For no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ.